Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Magic and Menopause by Lisa Manifold, narrated by Eva Wilhelm. Chapter 1. I stared at the doctor, the disorientation hitting hard. You want to do what? Usually, she made my yearly physical seem like visiting with a friend, but this time, not. I didn't know what was wrong with me this afternoon, but I'd been asking people to repeat themselves far too often. My daughter, my best friend Shelley, even the receptionist when she'd asked for my payment earlier, and now my doctor, Dr. Chloe Amberson. Everyone seemed to speak a shorthand I could not comprehend. "Winter, we can find out if this is menopause pretty easily." She gave me her "you-know-you've got to do this" smile. "We'll take some blood and that's all. Voila!" She nodded like I'd already agreed. "Then we'll know, one way or another." Her voice was bouncy and bright to disguise the grenade she was setting off in my life. "It can't be menopause." My forehead crinkled. "It just can't." I had powers. Magic, supposedly. Not menopause. Magic. Couldn't I stop this? Wasn't there some kind of anti-aging potion? "Why? Because the hot flashes are symptomatic of, say, gout?" Dr. Amberson's words hit me all wrong. "Are you cold?" "I'm sorry, what?" Her sudden change of subject threw me off. "Right now, are you cold?" "No, which is weird. Normally, I'm freezing in here." I indicated the sweater sitting on the chair opposite me under my purse. Then I looked up at Dr. Amberson. My mouth was partially open, probably in shock. "You're just proving my point." "I cannot be in menopause." I stared off at the wall. This would be one more damn thing in this month of damn things. "You're ahead of the game if you find out when all you're dealing with is hot flashes." "What else is there?" I asked. Like the hot flashes weren't bad enough? There was more? I'm too young for this. I'm not even 50. "We all go through it." She patted my shoulder. "I survived. You'll survive." The fluorescent light in the room crackled, which made me jump. All of a sudden, I could smell the alcohol in the sanitizer she'd used when she'd first come in, sharp and biting. I could smell the air conditioning in the room even if I didn't feel it. But I knew I wasn't pregnant, which was the last time I noticed things crazy like this. "Oh, God. Menopause. Let's take some blood and then we'll know." She was all business. "What else can I expect?" Dr. Amberson held up the needle she had in her hand. "What else can I expect from menopause?" I repeated myself, wanting to make sure I'd get the information I needed. Other symptoms, that kind of thing. "Oh," she turned around, needle still in hand. "You tend to sweat more at night. Weight gain and your metabolism shifts. Insomnia. Don't worry about it right now, Winter." Her smile dropped away. "Wait, you haven't been looking up your symptoms, have you?" Her eyes got fierce. Whoa. "No, I haven't looked up a thing." I wasn't lying. Like I'd admitted if I was. She was downright scary at the moment. With everything that had been going on, the death of my husband in a helicopter crash, learning he had another life, another wife, and even other kids, for one thing, then helping my own kids deal with these facts about their father, that was still tough. Add to that, I found out I was a magical being called the Oracle of Theama, with Logan, a consultant seeking my help as the Oracle, and Flory, the former Oracle. My recent hot flashes had just been one more annoying thing I needed to deal with. I didn't have the time to look into them. My sweating just wasn't high on my list of concerns. With what I'd been through the last month, I felt like sweating more than normal was appropriate. I'd already escaped being killed by random scary men. "Good. When you start to search via search engines or medical websites for reasons for your symptoms, you either have cancer or you're going to die soon," Dr. Amberson said, bringing me back to our conversation. Despite my stress over the idea that I might be in menopause, I laughed. I used to see that when I'd look up things for the kids. She rolled her eyes. The people who write most of the medical symptoms should lose internet privileges. I get more people in here scared to death based on something they read. So you're saying I should be grateful it's just menopause? Not at all. Menopause is just another step in the female reproductive system, which requires us to manage it and live with it. It's not fun. Par for the course, I said. Exactly. So my job is to find out if that is what this really is and help you ease the symptoms. I don't believe in just having to live with it. Hearing her, with her matter-of-fact approach, made me feel better. Which arm? Dr. Amberson waved the needle at me. I stuck out my right arm, pushing up my sleeve. There was a silence. When did you get a tattoo? Dr. Amberson asked. What? I looked down. How in the hell had I forgotten it was there? Oh, a while ago, I said. What could I say? That I was in the middle of an act of angry midlife crisis which landed me in the hotel room of a guy I'd just met, and he'd disappeared, and I'd found this bracelet shoved in the cushion of a chair, and when I'd put it on, I blacked out and woke up with a tattoo? Yeah, no, not in a million years. Even though that was exactly what had happened. And the tattoo, Goldie, named by one of the former oracles, was not just any old tattoo. I called it a he, even though Goldie himself hadn't actually told me if he was a he or a she, talked and was part of a magical responsibility that landed on me when I put the bracelet on. I was, as I mentioned, the Oracle of Theama, a descendant of the Oracle of Delphi, the person the supernatural world turned to when they needed answers. Well, after they'd proven themselves worthy of my time. At least that was what Logan, my first consultant, told me. He could have been lying, but Florrie, who was What was Florrie? She was the previous oracle, and she hovered around as a ghost who showed up at what seemed to be less than optimal times. But she said that we, the oracles, were protected. Sort of. I still wasn't clear on how the protection of the oracle worked. No, I couldn't tell Dr. Amberson any of this. Better for her to believe that I'd gotten a wild hair and run off to a tattoo shop. It's beautiful, Dr. Amberson said. The detail is superb. Thank you, I said. I could feel Goldie stirring along my arm. There was no communication from him, although I could sense his pleasure. He listened in far more than I would like. It gave new meaning to the words, never alone. Okay, just a pinch, Dr. Amberson said. She stuck the needle in and I jumped. Can you wait? The lab isn't all that busy right now, so I can find out the answer today. She smiled. What? Oh, yes, I can wait, I said. Okay, I'll have you wait out in the front office, Dr. Amberson said. This won't take long. I'll call you back as soon as I have the results. I nodded, following her out of the exam room, and let my mind drift. This week had been full of chores after we'd come back from Phoenix, and I'd been falling into bed with my eyes closed before I hit the pillow the last several nights. Which was good. Ever since finding Goldie the armband and taking on the responsibility of being the Oracle of Theama, to be specific, I'd had a lot of dreams that were related to the quest of my first consultant, Logan Gentry. A dreamless night was a gift now. Unbidden, my mind went to last week, when the kids and I had finally made the trip to Phoenix. We'd gone there to see Natalie Chastain, who had also been married to my late husband, Derek. He had 2 wives, and neither of us knew about the other one. Which sounds crazy, but he worked as a tour guide in the Grand Canyon 6 months a year, and he had, I'd discovered, kept a separate set of books to support Natalie and her kids. As small as that fact was, it made me feel a little better. I'd kept the books for years. I couldn't figure out how I'd missed a second family. Back to Natalie Chastain and her kids. Yes, she had kids. 2 very cute kids, Nathan and Sophie, which is why I was in Phoenix with my kids, Theo, Chris, and Rachel. They wanted to meet their younger siblings. I'd gotten the impression that Natalie Chastain was about as thrilled as I was at the idea of this meeting, also known as not enthusiastic at all. The things you do for your kids. We'd pulled into the driveway, and the two younger children were at the door. I could see a tall woman behind them, hidden in the shadow of the house. Everyone got out of the car and walked slowly up the front sidewalk. The boy spoke first. "I'm Nathan Chastain. You have the same dad we do." There was silence from my three, and then Theo spoke. "Yes, we do. I'm really sorry that he's not here anymore." Neither of the younger children replied immediately. Then the girl, Sophie, said, "Even though he lied to all of us?" "Did you love him any less?" Rachel asked. Her tone was gentle, which surprised me. She'd been the angriest of my three at her father. Sophie slowly shook her head, and I could see the shimmer of tears in her eyes. One snuck down her face, dripping off her cheek. Sophie didn't seem to notice. "I'm mad at him, though. Mommy cried." Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Nathan slid his hand into his sister's. I saw the motion, as did my kids, and something about the mood softened. I couldn't tell what it was exactly, but my kids knew that support, knew what was going on. "Why don't we invite our guests in?" a soft voice from behind the kids said. Natalie Chastain stepped into the light. She was as pretty as my social media snooping told me she was. And tall. She had to be 5'9" or 5'10" at least. I felt short and old. Because Natalie was younger than I was, by at least 10 years. Maybe more, but I wasn't going to give her that. It would mean she met Derek in her 20s. I sighed and resisted the urge to fan myself. Phoenix was hot. "I'm Winter," I said, sticking out my hand. "And these are my children, Theo, Rachel, and Chris." I nodded at my kids. "We're very glad to meet you." "Are you?" Nathan asked, his face serious as he shook my hand. I didn't see any ill will, only genuine curiosity. "Okay, we really need to take this off the front porch," Natalie said, her eyes sliding left and right. There were no neighbors in sight, but clearly she was self-conscious. "Please, come in." She moved back into the shadow of the house, and the kids stepped away from the door. We walked in, and the door closed behind us. "Please come in," Natalie said again. "I have coffee and tea in the kitchen." Even in the darker room, I could see the flush of her cheeks. She wasn't comfortable with this. Well, who would be? Meeting your late husband's first wife? What was the etiquette for that? Not in Emily Post, not that I could remember. No one spoke as we walked into the kitchen. Natalie's home had a warm, comfortable Southwestern style that was miles different from my New England seaside cottage look. I liked it, though. It fit her. I wanted to hate this woman. Really, truly. I wanted to hate her and write her off and never think of her again. Then I saw the expressions on my kids' faces and remembered why I'd made a different call. "Please have a seat," Natalie said, her hand waving to a large table with a long bench on one side and chairs on the other 3 sides. Nathan and Sophie went immediately to the bench. Chris sat down next to them, smiling as he did so. Natalie sat at the head of the table, next to her children. I took the seat next to her. Rachel was by my side, and Theo sat down on Rachel's other side. I felt Rachel's hand squeeze mine under the table. I hid a smile. "Thank you for inviting us," I said. Since the little kids had tossed the ball out, I could be as brave. "I know this couldn't have been easy. It wasn't easy for us." My eyes slid past Natalie's and to her children. "But we believe in brothers and sisters. So we had to come and see you, which is why I am glad to meet you." "Thank you," Natalie said quietly. I didn't know whether to be glad for or curse her stillness. "So what now?" Sophie asked. "How about some tea? And can I have a cookie? Maybe 2? Chris asked. "Sure," Sophie nodded. "We made them this morning." "We didn't poison them or anything," Nathan volunteered. His mother shot him a "you're so dead later" glare. In case you were wondering," Nathan added hastily, squirming in his seat. There was a moment of silence, and then Theo burst into laughter. Chris joined him, and even Rachel, who had maintained a cool civility up to this point, smiled. "Well, that's good to know," I said. "Being poisoned wasn't on our to-do list today." Sophie giggled, and Nathan smiled, though he was still watching his mom. But Natalie was smiling. It wasn't a big smile, but it was a smile. I felt myself relax a little as my shoulders dropped away from my ears. When people smile when they don't really want to, you can't help but be hopeful. I knew, right then, that I would never be able to hate her, not unless she told me she knew Derek was married. Even then, I knew the hate would fade. Even now, while things were still fresh, it felt like a lot of effort to carry hate around. She wasn't a bad person. These kids weren't bad kids. Derek had done wrong to us all. I reached over and put my hand on Natalie's. "I know it may seem strange, but I just can't be mad at you. As much as I want to be," I added ruefully. Her smile broadened, one side of her mouth tilting up crookedly. "I would like to hate you, too, for the record." She sighed heavily, looking down at her hands. "But I'm not made that way, and I don't think you're any more to blame for this than I am." None of the kids spoke. All 5 of them were listening to us. "No, you're not," Rachel said. "This was all Dad." Sophie's eyes went round, and Nathan's face sobered immediately. Chris and Theo watched their sister carefully. "But that doesn't mean we have to keep screwing this up like he did," Rachel said. "We can be honest with each other and make things better. No more secrets." She looked around the table. "You think he screwed things up?" Nathan asked. "Rachel," I said. "Yes, I do. Do you think this is how people should do things? Because I don't," Rachel said. "But we don't have to make the same mistakes." She ignored me. "No more secrets," Sophie said, nodding her head. "So, what did you say when you found out about us?" Nathan asked. "A lot of cuss words," Rachel said with no hesitation, most of them directed at Dad. "Mommy yelled," Nathan said, then cried. "I think Mom cried too," Theo said. "We don't live with her anymore, so I think she stopped crying before we came to see her." "Where do you live?" Nathan asked. "Why don't you live with your mommy?" Sophie asked at the same time. "Mom still lives on the vineyard. We all moved off-island after college," Chris said. "Easier for jobs." Natalie nodded. "That makes sense. Please have some cookies. Otherwise we'll eat them all and then no one will sleep tonight." The eternal worry of the mother. The mood was lighter as everyone ate the non-poisoned cookies. After a while, the younger kids got restless and my 3 went with them out back to see the pool and play area, leaving Natalie and me alone. Something I didn't think either of us was jazzed about. "Thank you," I began. "Thank you," she said at the same time. We both stopped and laughed a little. "Go ahead," I said. "Thank you for coming out, for being gracious. My kids were really worried that you'd be angry at us because you were there first." "I was," I said. "This turned my life upside down in a way I didn't expect." She nodded. "I understand that. Maybe you and I will never be at ease, but I want something more for my kids. I don't have any brothers or sisters. I was an only child, and my parents both died while I was in college. They were so excited at the idea of having family, even though they were nervous about what you thought. Derek never talked about his family. I always thought they were estranged." Damn this woman. I could see why Derek liked her. I liked her, and I didn't want to. She was a nice woman. Damn it. "No, they're still alive," I said. "And they will be delighted to know about more grandkids. Derek has 2 sisters, but neither of them ever had children." "How do you feel about that?" Natalie asked. "Part of me hurts for my kids. Will it change the way their grandparents see them? My parents are gone too, so Derek's parents are all they have left, I said. I felt kind of small, but I wanted to be honest. But your kids deserve to know their grandparents, and Maud and Donovan are both wonderful people, I added. I can't believe he never told me about them, she said, a slight frown making the middle of her forehead crinkle. I'm sorry, I said. I mean, what else could I say? She sighed. How can I miss him so much when I'd beat him to death if I saw him again? I shrugged, laughing. I don't know. All I can say is I know how you feel. I stopped, not sure how much to say. I pulled all his clothes out of the closet, dumped them on the floor, and had the kids cart them away. A puff of laughter burst out from Natalie, almost unwillingly. Thank you, she said. And for the first time since I'd come in, our eyes met in perfect understanding. This might not be easy, and it would probably be bumpy as we found our way into this new reality, but it would be all right. Eventually. I smiled now in the doctor's office, thinking about that weekend, ignoring the flush of heat that was rising up from my feet. The visit had been far less awkward than anyone expected it to be. Rachel emailed both of the kids every day. Natalie had been right. The younger kids were delighted to have siblings. After I'd come home from Phoenix, I'd taken a day and gone to see Maud and Donovan, who lived in New York, and told them the news. They'd been shocked and angry, and then, just as we were, curious about Derek's other wife, then anxious to meet their newest grandchildren. When I'd talked with Maud last week, plans were being made for visits. I'd left it to my in-laws to tell Derek's sisters. I was glad for Nathan and Sophie that their newfound grandparents were all in. I knew that Derek's actions hurt Maud and Donovan deeply, but that wasn't something I could manage. I had enough on my plate, thank you very much. If you are past your time of breeding, your magic will be enhanced, I heard a thin, high voice say. Great, thanks, Goldie. That totally makes up for all the other benefits of menopause. I spoke out loud without thinking, only remembering I was out in public after I spoke. Damn it. I snuck a glance around the waiting room. Only one young woman looked up at me, and I smiled, looking back down at my phone in my hand. She returned the smile, and her eyes went back to her own phone. That was close. Good grief. I needed to keep a better guard on myself. What other benefits? He asked. Clearly, Goldie didn't always catch the sarcasm. I was saved from an answer by Dr. Amberson poking her head out of the hallway that led to the exam rooms. Come on back, she said. Getting up, I glanced around the waiting room. It wasn't busy today, but a woman came in as I walked by the front door. Her hair was the rich, creamy blonde that screamed money and monthly hair appointments. She turned to face the waiting room, and I stumbled. It was Davina from the party. Davina in the golden dress who had clung to Evander, Logan, as though he were an accessory. Her gaze slid past me with no recognition even as she looked carefully at me. And why would she? It was my dream. But what was this woman, this sort of woman, doing here on Martha's Vineyard, seeing a doctor as though she lived here? A ripple of fear moved through me, threatening to engulf me. I'd have to tell Logan. If she saw him, she'd blow his hiding place. I didn't know if he wanted to resume his life as Evander Thane, but he should be the one to make that choice, not this woman or anyone else. Sweet baby G. I couldn't even go to my Lady Bits doctor without my Oracle world pushing in. Was this how it was going to be from now on? Being the Oracle would take over everything? I wasn't sure I liked that. Lost in thoughts of my future and worry over what Davina was doing here, I didn't pay attention as we walked down the hallway. I walked in through the open doorway, unseeing, as Dr. Amberson stopped at a door to one of the exam rooms. I sat down, still seeing the blonde hair and aloof expression of Davina. I have the results, Dr. Amberson said, looking down at the chart in her hand and then up at me. a slight smile on her face. "It's official. You're in menopause." Wonderful. Chapter 2. When I got home from the doctor's, it was with a bag of Chinese food tucked under my arm. The news of my impending menopause, the cryptic warning from Goldie about magic, and the sighting of Davina had made me crave nothing but comfort food. This time there was no darkly handsome man lounging on my porch to scare the daylights out of me and make me drop my food, so I was able to curl up on the couch and eat every one of the Hunan scallops all by myself. They were delicious. I fell asleep watching the news, and I woke up because the crick in my neck was screaming. And I was sweating. A lot. "God," I groaned. I tidied up, downed a glass of water, and then refilled it and took it up with me just in case. You know, because menopause. Dr. Amberson had told me more than once to drink more water. My eyes were closed as I pulled the blankets up to my chin. I could feel myself settle down into the mattress, the harbinger of sleep for me. A loud screech and a thump had me sitting straight up in bed, the hair on my arms and the back of my neck all at attention. "What the hell? Goldie?" I asked, hoping for some insight. "This isn't good," Goldie said. "You think?" I hissed. "What is it?" "Hide." I got out of bed and was heading for one of the closets when the door slammed open. The heat I'd felt before bed was replaced with a cold sweat. I felt something hard hit me in the back between the shoulders, almost scooping me as I was hit. I flew backward and fell half on, half off the bed. "Give it to me," a feminine voice said. The lightness of the voice was belied by the anger and determination I heard in the few words. "Who are you? Get out of my house!" I wheezed, finding it hard to catch my breath, much less get up and see who had just attacked me. I heard a clopping, like hobnailed boots, coming closer. A large shadow loomed over me, and a rank smell of the barnyard filled the room. "Oh, for Pete's sake!" I tried to yell. I knew who it was then. The bull and the damn woman. What was her name? Adrienne? No, Ariadne. "You're not getting the armband. I'm the Oracle. I accepted it. It's mine, and you can't have it. Now get out of my house." I managed to push myself up with my hands behind me against the bed, and unlike the last time she was here, I wasn't frightened. I was furious. "This should have never come to you," Ariadne said, her voice still musical. "A less likely candidate for the Oracle has never been chosen." She shook her head. The bull, on two legs, edged closer to Ariadne. Her hand reached up to stroke the bull's front paw. Arm? Absently. He snorted. "Gack," I said. "You need a good dentist. As for you," I looked at Ariadne, "I don't know that you're one to make judgments about the Oracle." Ariadne glared. "Don't insult him. It makes him angry." She smiled, her dark curls falling around her face. The musical sound of her voice took on an evil note. "Or have you forgotten the last time he paid you a visit?" "I haven't forgotten a thing," I flared. "Nor have I forgotten how you both ran from here, tails between your legs, when you met my friend." "Where is the panther tonight?" Ariadne jeered. Logan was in New York, tracking down his under-the-radar colleagues to help him hack his Swiss bank accounts. At least, that's what he'd told me. Since I'd technically solved his question, to find his past, and revealed that he was a man named Evander Thane, our quest together was at an end. He owed me nothing. But he said he was coming back, and quest or no quest, I was glad. His things were still in the small guest bedroom, indicating that he hadn't taken off. I didn't know what it meant, but I was still glad. "I don't need him," I said, standing up tall. "I can take care of you on my own, because I am the Oracle, and we do not take kindly to threats from the likes of you." If I hadn't been so mad at the audacity of this chick, I would have laughed at myself. Rixte tonistopanotis, Ariadne said in a tone barely above a whisper.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?